provide more choice and control for families. Inspired by our grandfather, Tom Stafford, we are proud to serve our community with the highest standards of funeral care. Staffords, trust our family to take care of yours.
New funeral home now open in Dunleary.
The IMRO award-winning sports programme.
Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
This is Off the Ball Sunday. John Duggan with you through to 7. Paddy Burns of Armagh and studio. James O'Donoghue, a very proud and happy Kerryman at Croke Park because the Kingdom are All-Ireland champions for 2025. 126 to 19 points for Donegal. A 10-point victory for the Kingdom. James, 121 from the Kerry forwards. That was some impressive feat.
It was. They were absolutely outstanding. I knew they were on it straight away from ball number one, say. When the ball was thrown in, Mark O'Shea competed for the hot ball, and Gavin White burst onto it. And before we knew it, he was down, slipping it to Dylan Gainey to get our first score and get Dylan into the game as well in his first final. So I mean, there was just things like that went our way that were huge in the bigger scheme of things. So all the Kerry forwards were outstanding. In fairness to some of the Donegal forwards, they also had really good games. But I think that Kerry were just a level ahead. And once Kerry pulled away, Donegal started forcing it, and they were really under pressure then. The kind of main moment that I thought really defined the game was the last play in the first half, where Kerry were 5 points up. Donegal would have taken that after the start they had. Going 5 points down, they could have regrouped. Kerry worked a 2-point shot for Clifford to slap it over. Clifford ran off the field, pumping his fist, high-fiving the rest of the Kerry players in front of all the Donegal lads. It was like that was a big score. Even if Donegal players didn't believe it, it was like looking at Clifford's reaction, it probably felt like an even bigger score. So I think the Kerry forwards really delivered. I do think the Donegal's tactics played into that. Their zonal defence had an absolute meltdown at spells in the game. I mean, they didn't pick up Paddy Clifford. They didn't go man for man them. He was absolutely outstanding. He mightn't have done outrageous things like kicking 2-pointers or kicking outside of the boot passes, but he linked absolutely everything together for Kerry. He just knitted it all together. If ever someone was in a bit of trouble, Paddy was there to help him out. He was also back in defence, taking men on there and bringing the ball up. I just thought he was outstanding, and Donegal just did not get a hold of himself and Sean Shea. As I said, even though they didn't do unbelievable damage on the scoreboard, everything they did was just on point, and the leadership they showed really got them over the line. Kerry forwards definitely delivered. Joe
Connor with the late goal, but that was the kind of, I suppose, the icing on the cake, James. But 5 2-pointers, none for Donegal.
No, and look, I think we criticised Kerry at the start of the year for not really playing into the 2-point arc enough, and I think they did realise that themselves, I think, because the way they have now gone and started really using the 2-point arc and kind of almost to a fault at times just keep shooting, because it does pay off. I mean, some of the scores that David Clifford got, I think he got 3 2-pointers in the first half. They were absolutely inspirational. And when I say Croke Park nearly shakes when a 2-pointer goes over, I mean, it literally starts shaking. It is just a great new rule for the game, because it shows so much skill. You have to be a great kicker to be kicking those 2-pointers on the run under pressure. Clifford has no problem doing it. Kerry did force a couple of them as well. Mike Green came up and threw a leg at one and kind of went wide, and at that stage you're thinking, right, let's kind of rope it in a bit, go back to what you were doing before. But a 2-pointer is such a dagger to the opposition, and Kerry have really played into that and improved on it. When Kieran Thompson went off for Donegal, there's no doubt that had a bearing on their 2-point efforts. He would have been someone to take that left foot hook shot from the right hand side in both halves. He went off with an injury in the first half, and it definitely did take a little bit of something out of their attack. But no, Kerry definitely the better forwards, better shooters, better kickers on the day, without a doubt.
Just a bit of breaking news here, James O'Donoghue. Apparently Jack O'Connor has told RTE Radio 1 that this is his last game in charge. It was his plan to hand on the baton after this year, so big news about Jack.
What if that is the case, congratulations to Jack, because he has had a couple of unbelievable stints in charge of Kerry. The actual renaissance of this team, even, I mean, the criticism they got over the year, it was like, that Jack hasn't brought through enough players. That was what was being thrown at him. It was like, what we have isn't enough. And he's absolutely galvanised that group, and we give all the credit to the players, obviously, because they're the ones who deserve the credit, but he needs a strong leader in that situation as well. And Jack has now won 5 All-Irelands. I think he's had 3 other finals where he's lost out, so he has been around for so long. He's done such a great job with Kerry teams. He should be very, very proud of what he's delivered here again today for Kerry.
Will you you be tidying up the CV, James, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a water boy job going that I might have to pick for. No, I love talking about it too much, so I don't think that will be a thing. But there'll be a queue out the door for that Kerry job, because I think the Kerry players have shown that there are the players in the county. The new rules 100% suit them, and it's a case of someone come and take us now to a new level if you can. And I think there's going to be no shortage of candidates. A lot of ex-players are probably going to put their hand up for that job. It's not easy to take on a winning team, though.
You know Kerry and Donegal well, Paddy.
Yeah, they could do worse than Kerry and Donegal. The Star would definitely enjoy a stint down there, I'm sure. He was great with us, fantastic coach, and couldn't blame him for wanting to take a job a bit closer to home. So I'm sure he'll be in the mix, no doubt.
And this is very sweet for Kerry and Jack, because 2023 against Dublin, they were ahead, and Dublin kind of wore them down the last few minutes, James. And then last year, losing to Paddy's Armagh in the semi-final after extra time. This will be feeling very sweet for both Jack and for everybody involved in Kerry's squad.
It will absolutely. And you know, sometimes you do nearly have to have that heartbreak to make you go that extra 1% or 2%. And I think that heartbreak against Armagh last year was massive for Kerry, because there were stages in that game where they probably felt that they didn't take their chances, where they could have put Armagh under a little bit more pressure, but Armagh were deserved All-Ireland champions, don't get me wrong. But you know, that still is, anyone who loses in the semi-final or final, you probably think you should have won. You know, it's just the nature of the beast, the nature of being involved in those panels. You've got to think of what went wrong. So that definitely put a little bit of hurt in them. That said, you know, Kerry came out, won the National League. You know, they played some great football in the National League. They beat Mayo quite easily in the National League final, kept them to 12 points, went out and won the Munster title. So I mean, everything was going okay since then, up until that Meath game. And then once the Meath game happened, it was like panic stations, because everyone craved this All-Ireland so badly, and the fact that Meath game went so badly wrong to Meath, who were only still kind of on a different, I suppose, level of experience themselves. To lose that game was shocking to everyone involved. So the fact that they've been able to turn around, 10 out of 10 I give them, in fairness.
Like James, I felt that actually as early as when we played them in the league in Tralee, that there was a different edge, as if they'd carried a real hurt from that game last year against us, and again in that quarter-final. I actually worried that they had hit an emotional pitch in the quarter-final against us, that they would struggle to carry through in a semi and a final. You know, they'd hit such heights of emotion, and you've seen Sean O'Shea celebrating turnovers and scores, and Clifford celebrating big scores. I worried that they were nearly going to burn themselves out on this run-in, but they've just carried that all year. Yeah,
but I suppose that Armagh game was so huge for them, because I suppose everyone in the country had Armagh at number one, you know, and rightly so. So for you to come out and beat the reigning champions, the kind of the satisfaction it gives you, I suppose, but also the confidence and the belief and maybe the reassurance that you are on the right path. So I know they put absolutely everything into that game, but I know for a fact that they 100% went into that game thinking this is it, like this is the game. There is no other game. We are not thinking about anything else, only this game. That's how much respect they had for Armagh. So I mean, they definitely took huge confidence from that and kicked on. But I do think that Kerry did a lot of work around the new rules that other teams haven't. I think that they committed a lot of bodies to attack and almost got them out of the way. Like Kerry attacked there with a couple of bodies inside in Patton's small square, where they were literally just standing there, but they also dragged the man out of position to allow more room for Paddy Clifford and Sean O'Shea and these fellas to get on the ball. And a lot of teams are actually doing that, but a lot of teams don't have the two-point shooters that Kerry have. Basically what I'm saying is David Clifford. A lot of teams don't have a David Clifford to be able to pull the trigger, so having that cheat code of a player is such a huge advantage as well. You can't probably underplay how brilliant he is.
We're talking to James O'Donoghue at Croke Park and Paddy Burns in studio. Kerry 126, Donegal 19 points. A 10-point win for Kerry in the 2025 All-Ireland Senior Football Final. James, one person we haven't mentioned today, his first All-Ireland final without Mick O'Dwyer, and he was such a legend in the kingdom, and he's left a great legacy, and that's been carried through by this All-Ireland win again today.
He has, I suppose, yeah, he started it all, and I mean, just the level of pride in Kerry football all started from around that time, and I think we can all think back to having that Golden Ears DVD or tape, actually, cassette that we were watching to kind of to whet the appetite. So I think some of these players would definitely have been, you know, huge fans of Mikey Sheehy and John Egan and Jack O'Shea. You know, those fellas are just the cornerstone of Kerry football, and Mick O'Dwyer brought all those fellas through and took them to the highest highs, and you know, you'd have to say that Jack is probably up there now as one of the greatest Kerry managers as well, which is brilliant for him.
And he's been involved since 1997 at a senior level with Paddy, that won the All-Ireland. He was a selector back then. I mean, it's been an unbelievable run. He's involved over 30 years.
Yeah, and he's been at the highest highs and the lowest lows in the game. I think, you know, the experience tells a lot. You need to be around the game for a long time to be able to overcome certain things. The pressure that he was under this year, I've said it a couple times already, even in this conversation, but the level of being written off. I mean, to actually have the strength of character to come back and, you know, even after the Armagh game, he had a little bit of a hit back at everyone. He was like, you know, what have he done for Kerry football of the year, kind of criticising me, and what did the media know? I've been here so long, look what we're going to do again this year. So I think, you know, that's inspirational as well. You know, that kind of stuff is great to see, and he deserves all the success he gets, to be honest.
I love the way he talked about the fact that he's been working with young teams and young players, and all he wants to do is coach and encourage, and I just love that. And it was a challenge to everybody really in life. Look, what are you doing? It's easy to be the critic, isn't it, James? It's harder to be the person in the arena.
It is, absolutely, and you know, that's why even we were talking before the game, and you know, Tommy was asking me, you know, are you nervous for these games or anything? And you're kind of nervous for the players in a way. You have a bit of butterflies because you know that they're out there to be criticised. You know, I have no mistake about it. The Donegal fellas are going to come in for a bit of heat after this. You know, that maybe they didn't perform, maybe tactically they got it wrong, and that's hard. You know, that's hard to deal with for amateur players. So it does show a lot of strength of character to be out there and, you know, losing, coming back, maybe winning, losing. Very often you kind of lose more than you win, especially at this level. So yeah, I think Jack was nearly right to have a little poke back at that time. But he started the 5 in a row with the Kerry minors as well. You know, he came back, he won the minor in 2014 and 15. So like, he started all that, and then Peter Keane obviously came in and won a couple of minor All-Irelands as well. But like, that kind of foundation is what this team is built on. So Jack's had such a hand in this team. I think he was probably playing the long game at the time. You know, he probably took that minor job, obviously, to be working with the young lads, and obviously he loved that side of it. But I think there was also a little bit of, I can see a bit of potential in these fellas. I might take these fellas in a couple of years' time as well when they're senior, and I know them and I know what tune I can get out of them. So he was definitely clever in playing the long game there as well.
David Clifford, James, Footballer of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, it probably was going to be Murphy or Clifford, whoever came out as winner. I think the level of respect that David has in the country from other players, from his own teammates, from ex-players, it's unwavering. So I think that he'll get an awful lot of votes in that, or however they do it. I think that he's by far the greatest player in the country. I mean, there isn't even a question to be asked. And he did step up and deliver today, stepped up and delivered in every other round of the knockout games. And you know, that says a lot about him, and he's embraced the new rules. You know, the 2-point arc, he's made it his own. McCall is a great player, but he probably had McCall's number as well today, so he's come up against the best. He's come out on the right side of each duel he's had, and yeah, without doubt the best player in the country.
No argument for you either, Paddy.
No, he's not bad. I wouldn't mind having him in orange and white. He's a top talent, and that 2-pointer at the end of the first half that James was talking about just shows it. You know, to take that pressure on your shoulders, that's probably a set play that they've worked on, you know, for weeks and weeks. The end of the half, before the hooter or just after the hooter, we're going to get David on the ball and get him to kick the score, and he knows that pressure's on his shoulders, and he just carries it and kicks it over. So he's a top player, and definitely Footballer of the Year. He'll be getting my vote anyway. Yeah,
do you know what's interesting about that set play as well is, do you know, you probably have talked about that for a couple of weeks before the match, or maybe even over a couple of matches, and you're hoping it comes off. And then when it does come off, it's like rubber stamping that we've done the right things in training. We know exactly what's going to happen. We've almost predicted these scenarios. It's like, it's giving fresh belief. And then the way David came off the field at half-time, pumping his fist, I was even thinking, this is over. this game is over. We're absolutely lifting now, because just his reaction was like, it was so profound. And I think that does play into your own teammates' mindset and also into the opposition. So I think that set play that you're talking about, I think, was absolutely crucial today.
Just a word for Donegal, James. Tough day for them, and it's 11 years since their last final. Look, they've had great progression the last couple of seasons, but yeah, I suppose you can't hide from the pain.
No, and I've been there a couple of times, and I can tell you it is horrible. You're walking around in the middle of other people when they're living out their dream, and you are absolutely heartbroken and crushed, and you know it's going to be a quiet dressing room, it's going to be a quiet bus journey home. You're going to have to go to a function where people are talking about how great a year it's been, and you're after losing. You have to go to a homecoming when everyone is gutted for the county. It really is just a couple of days now they have to get through and then stick together and bounce back. I have no doubt that they'll be back. I don't know what happened to them at the start of the game. Was it tactical or was it mental, the way they just did not turn up for the first 10 or 15 minutes, but they paid the ultimate price. They're after losing an All-Ireland final basically on the back of it. So they can learn an awful lot, and I've no doubt they'll be back. Because if you look at the quality throughout the team, I mean, Gallen started well today. He went a bit quiet in the second half. Conor O'Donnell, Shane O'Donnell, Kieran Moore will be back. He's only young. Kieran Thompson got injured. You still have Michael Langan, Ryan McHugh got injured today, Finn Barrote. Like, they're full of household names, 1 to 15. So it's just a case of getting back on the horse as quickly as possible, but sticking together after a tough couple of days upcoming for them.
Can you see any commotion on the pitch there? There seems to be a lot of happy Kerry folk.
Yeah, they're just walking down under the Hogan now. They're just seeing all their families and getting the old hug and the picture with them. The Sam Maguire's going up into the stadium there. He's with Brian Begley at the moment, but it's great to see. I mean, this group, I know this group have a very close bond, and if you ever talk about any successful team, and if you ever do like an interview with any of them, all of them say we were an incredibly tight group. If there's any bit of a chink in that, you do not win in All-Ireland. Like, you have to be an incredibly tight group. Everything has to go your way, but you have to be so strong as a group. So it's lovely to see these fellas who've probably had loads of tough meetings throughout the year, a lot of kind of honest truths and maybe things said about them they didn't like, that they had to recover from and take on the chin from each other and from maybe management. So to see them when they've achieved the ultimate goal and this absolute elation on the field, it's nice to see and nice to witness.
And finally, James O'Donoghue, from 2014, what will the next week be like in the Kingdom?
Oh God, they're going to have the week of their lives. They're going to have the week of their lives. I mean, tonight is going to be brilliant. Now, do you know what the best thing is really? That they'll go into the dressing room now after this game, and they'll bring the cup into the warm-up room. There's a little AstroTurf warm-up room in the Croke Park dressing rooms, and they'll go in there and they'll put the cup in the middle, and you know what? They'll have a quiet word between each other, and that's actually almost the most special thing. Then they'll get changed, whatever, they'll put on their gear, and they'll put Sam Maguire top of the bus. That's the second best thing. When the Sam Maguire is at the top of the bus when you're pulling out of Croke Park, it's just an unbelievable feeling. And then it's just a case of the function. Obviously they'll have the cameras there and stuff like that, a few interviews, they'll drink their few pints, and then they'll head for town, I suppose. And then tomorrow will be the homecoming in Clarny and Tralee, which will be fantastic. I think there's going to be a huge turnout for them, and the players deserve it, definitely.
You'll be there, James.
I'll be there. I'll be first in the door, don't worry.
James O'Donoghue, your contributions have been fantastic all through the summer and today again as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks, John. Cheers. See you, lads.
James O'Donoghue there, and a very happy man, but obviously objective during the game, and fantastic insight, Paddy, into everything that the Kerry have done today and all year.
Yeah, I was getting goosebumps there listening to him describing the sit in the changing rooms afterwards, and the Astro and the trophy at the front of the bus and the homecoming. And it was just bringing back all those memories. It's it was getting goosebumps. Great feeling.
You're alone with your thoughts, but in a great way.
Yeah, that he talks about that bond between winning teams, and that's something that they all hark back to, and it is true. We would have said the same. You go through so many sort of ups and downs over the years, and it's just that when you taste that bit of success together, when you sit together afterwards, and you're almost looking around at each other and thinking, we did it. We actually did it. There's almost a surreal element to it for that couple of hours after, and then the sea of colour on the bus on the way down the road it's brilliant.
Eamon McGee was talking yesterday on the panel about the fact that it went on for a week. They were on a bus for a week in Donegal in 2012, and he had to bail on the Thursday morning. Was there something similar for you? Did you end up being all around Armagh for the week?
Yeah, we did. The bus got kitted out before the final. It was a big black, similar to that diary actually, a big black bus with the Armagh writing up the side, and it did a lot of mileage that week after the final. I would say we were all around the county, and then Kieran O'Hanlon, actually one of the squad members, had a wedding halfway through the week as well, so that kept the party going. And Aaron McKay's stag party was in Berlin on the Friday, so yeah, it was a long party, a very long party, but a good one. Because
it was only the second Armagh title in history. Kieran McGeeney captain in 2002. So you're going to villages, towns, communities that are starved.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I'd be interested. Kerry have won so many that, you know, it could lose its impact. You would think a county that's successful, but because they've only had one in 10 years, it's not that anymore. You know,
and because of Clifford and everything, and
exactly.
They're expected to, and I think to me, Kerry have always been the Real Madrid of Gaelic football. Like, they're the establishment.
Yeah,
I mean, the first VHS was the Golden Years. I mean, I watched because my uncle was from Kerry, and we all have an uncle from every parts of the country, or an aunt from parts of the country. But when I was growing up, they were just, and Kerry, like, they just come off the Mick O'Dwyer 8 All-Irelands in 11 years. So you're thinking, then it took them 11 years to win until 97, then Paddy's time and Jack's time. But then they ran into issues in northern teams. Yeah. Tyrone in the noughties, and yourselves last year, and Tyrone in 2021, and you're thinking, is there an issue here? Down in the 60s. So to beat Armagh, Donegal and Tyrone in one calendar year would be very sweet for Kerry.
Yeah, that's probably the best way they could win one for them. I'm sure if they could have drawn one up, the only missing link there was Dublin. They would probably like to beat Dublin on the way too, but I'd say if they could draw one up, that's pretty close to perfect for them to win in All-Ireland. They'd be driving down the road very, very happy with this one.
And obviously then 2022 they did beat Dublin in the semi-final before going on to beat Galway under Jack O'Connor. And he said on television after the game, we said to ourselves at half-time that what happened to Cork last week won't happen to us. Nice Kerry roasted Cork.
Yeah, their neighbours will be delighted that they've inspired them to an All-Ireland. Yeah, there'll be a lot of happy Cork people for their Kerry neighbours there.
Yeah, I suppose he probably means it in terms of don't lose focus, to be fair.
Yeah, and it can happen. I mentioned it at half-time that, you know, there were a few snapped 2-point efforts that fellas were maybe getting a bit too comfortable with the lead that they had and taking on shots, particularly the Mike Breen one, that it wasn't the right decision at that time. So that's probably what he's getting at, is let's not overcomplicate this, and let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We've still got a half to win, and they've went out and done it in style.
They've done it in style. Paddy Burns, will just stay on for a few more minutes, and I appreciate your time here this afternoon and this evening on Off the Ball Sunday on News Talk. Folks out there across the country, if you're just joining us, if you didn't know, Kerry 126, Donegal 19 points, a 10-point victory for the Kingdom in the All-Ireland Senior Football Final of 2025. A 39th Sam Maguire Cup for the Kingdom. Be huge celebrations down in the southwest over the next week. We got Paddy and all the reaction to come from Croke Park, and a small matter of the Galway races preview, but it was obviously all secondary to Kerry's win in the All-Ireland, and all the reaction to come after the news. Stay with us. We're on air till 7 here on News Talk.
This weekend on News Talk, together with Cassidy Travel Sports and Events, we've got a pair of coveted tickets for Oasis up for grabs, live at Croke Park on August 16th. Simply go to newstalk.com/Oasis for your chance to win. Thanks to Cassidy Travel Sports and Events, your one-stop travel shop for all your events, holidays and more.
Go green for good on News Talk with Repack.
Did you know about Repack? We're driving Ireland's packaging recycling efforts, working with businesses to create a cleaner, greener future. From compliance to packaging innovation, we're making a real difference. Is your business on board? Visit repack.ie to become a member.
Go green for good on News Talk with Repack, proudly supporting a circular economy.
Pint of Guinness, please.
Lovely day for it.
Can't beat summer for good times, laughter, and friends old and new. A time when anything seems possible, even a bit of sunshine. Now that's a lovely day for a Guinness. Get the facts. Be drink aware. Visit drinkaware.ie.
We all want to live in a world where everyone feels welcome and included. But where do we even start? How about right here, in our local communities? SuperValu is proud to sponsor the GAA Football All-Ireland Championship and to support the GAA at every level, because every time we welcome those from different backgrounds, every time we include all abilities, sexualities and genders, that's real action. Because at SuperValu, we believe community includes everyone.
Bosch, appliances you can rely on. For peace of mind, choose from Bosch's 5-year warranty range of home appliances. For more information, go to powercity.ie. T's and C's apply.
Change is the only constant in business. So whether you're starting or growing your business, our dedicated business teams will always be here to support you every step of the way. Because the best businesses never stop beginning. Search Bank of Ireland Business. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
New this week in Home Store and More. All Reed diffusers are all 33% off. But better hurry, because when all our 33% off Reed diffusers are gone, they're gone. Also, all school bags are still all half price. And all 100% cotton children's duvet sets are still all 33% off. But when they're gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
On 106 to 108 FM. On the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud and Smart Speaker. This is News Talk, your IMRO National Station of the Year.
It's 6 o'clock. I'm Lindsay Dolan. Good evening. Donald Trump said there's no chance of achieving a tariff deal any lower than 15% with the European Union. He's been meeting with the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in Scotland, where he's admitted there was a 50-50 chance of achieving a deal. There's an August deadline to knock down the original 30% announced by the US President. Meanwhile, if a deal is delivered, Mr Trump says pharmaceuticals will be separate to that.
Pharmaceuticals will be, we'll do something, but basically pharmaceuticals won't be part of it because we have to have them built and made in the United States. And now, Europe is going to make pharmaceuticals, drugs and everything else for us too, a lot, but we're going to have also our own.
Irish campaigners will today call for an end to the deliberate use of starvation as a weapon of war in Gaza. They're also calling on the Irish government and the central bank to stop facilitating the sale of Israeli bonds in Europe. Helen O'Mahony from the Ireland-Palestine Solidarity Campaign said they'll march in silence this evening from the central bank to the Famine Memorial on Dublin's Customs House Quay.
It's very important that people all over the world join in the call that aid be allowed straight into Gaza. And in terms of ourselves here in Ireland, it is really important that we stop the aiding and the abetting of fundraising for genocide by the Israeli state.
Meanwhile, Jordan and the United Arab Emirates have airdropped 25 tonnes of aid into Gaza in their first operation in months. A Jordanian official said airdrops are no substitute for land deliveries. One person was injured when an aid box fell during the drop. The supply comes as Israel said it will pause military operations for 10 hours a day to allow more aid into the enclave. And Kerry have lifted the Sam Maguire in Croke Park this afternoon. The Kingdom beat Donegal by 126 to 19 points. It's Kerry's 39th overall win and their first since 2022. And that's your news for now.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Find your McElroy and master Europe's golf courses with Ryanair's low-fare flights to Milan, Malaga or Malta.
Mostly dry tonight with clear spells and well-scattered showers, lows of 9 to 14 degrees. From now up to date on News Talk.
The IMRO award-winning sports programme.
Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
This is Off the Ball Sunday. John Duggan with you through to 7. Kerry are All-Ireland Senior Football Champions for 2025. 126 to Donegal's 19 points. A 10-point victory for the Kingdom. And it was a magnificent performance, especially in the first half. 17 points to 10 they led at the break, with David Clifford getting 3 2-pointers. They got 5 in total. And Joe Connor with an icing on the cake goal in the very last moments of the match. So 39th All-Ireland for Kerry, disappointment for Donegal. We've Armagh's All-Ireland winner from last year, defender Paddy Burns, is still with us in studio, Paddy, and the belief is, the reports are suggesting that Jack O'Connor may be stepping down as Kerry manager after that game. But from a Kerry perspective, like when you think about the Meath game, they probably said, okay, we need to reset here like they did in 2009 when they went on to win the All-Ireland, and it was a strong reset because the margins of victory in the 3 games, obviously against yourselves, I don't want to try and remind you, but there were big margins against yourselves, Tyrone and Donegal. So what, 8 versus yourselves, 6 versus Tyrone, 10 versus Donegal. They've done it emphatically.
Yeah, it makes me feel like we're not that bad actually when you call it those numbers, John. They just found a new gear, didn't they, for the game against us first, that 15-minute period that they blitzed us. They were really, really effective, and they've been able to do that in each of the games since. So just something letting them down there. I think their own people questioning them, and some of the media stuff, the newspaper articles, and Jack referred to some of them after the quarter-final win. They really bottled that up and used it as a motivator. I think that even their own people were questioning them, and it's paid them back in bucketfuls that they're able to go out and win in All Ireland in the way that they have. Emphatic is probably the way you describe it at this stage, isn't it? The last 3 games.
I've always thought Kerry are the aristocrats, the establishment of football, and they've always been a team and a county that I've always really admired throughout my life in terms of I suppose, showing the best of the game, kicking, great forward play, high fielding, not over elaborate tactics, and it just feels that the new rules have suited them.
Yeah, definitely. The game's been redesigned to suit the team that has won the most All Irelands. It's scary when you say it like that, but it definitely has suited the players that they have, and the fact that they have a generational talent in the forward line, and he's now got a bit more space to play in. It just makes it that bit more difficult for everybody else against them. There's probably a question about whether they were able to figure out the defensive setups that had come in the previous years, but in this new era with the new rules, they've definitely been quick off the mark to figure it out. But you would assume that teams are going to catch it up again and figure out something to do to manage David and co. But they're well deserving of their All Ireland this year.
So no full confirmation from Jack O'Connor. He said to Tommy Rooney, our GA correspondent, when he asked about whether this was it. Sure, who knows? We might pass on the baton to somebody else. So hints from Jack O'Connor that it might be the end. But if it is the end, he'll be going out in some high. Michael Murphy will be, 36 in August? I mean, it was great for him to come back and do so well, but it'll be hard to lift it again next year. I wonder, will he be coming back at all? He probably doesn't know, obviously, at the moment. Yeah,
he's come back. I'd be surprised if he's only come back to do 1 year.
Yeah,
he got the new rules. Obviously, he was part of the committee that changed them, so it does suit him that he can stay up in the 3 up and doesn't have to maybe tax his body as much to get back. And we see how talented he is. That if he can keep up there and keep the legs fresh, then he's a threat when you have him inside. I wonder if Donegal will come away from that game and think about next year if he does hang around, kicking more ball in and using him a bit more in the full forward line too. So that might tempt him to stay on, that he's going to get more supply if he stays in there. They might need to look at changing something.
Why did it go wrong for them?
I think that defensive, the zonal defence that we talk about, and it's been so effective this year. Teams have struggled to break it down, but it just failed today. Paddy Clifford, James talked about it a few times, that Paddy was so effective. He just quarterbacked the game, and it's not that anything he did in particular looked massively difficult or showcased the talents that he has, but everything he did was just intelligent. David came deep, brought Brenton McCole out, came and took the ball off Paddy for a couple of those 2-pointers, and Paddy just kept the game ticking over. He made smart decisions, good decisions, because he had time on the ball to think about what he was doing. He wasn't under pressure. He didn't have his head down soloing because somebody was tackling him. He always had his head up and he had time to think about what he was going to do.
Spain lead England 1-0 in the Euros final, 50 minutes in the watch. We have Jack O'Connor now, the Kerry manager, successful manager for a 5th time, speaking one-to-one to our GA correspondent, Tommy Rooney. Have a listen.
Jack O'Connor, congratulations. That was a sublime performance in an All-Ireland final, a 10-point win against Donegal. You must be so thrilled.
Delighted, Tommy. We were very determined this morning, leaving the hotel, that we were going to put in a big performance, but wasn't sure, was it going to be enough to beat Donegal, because Donegal looked really good here 2 weeks ago. But we were well tested. Coming into the game by Armagh and Tyrone, and we felt maybe we were a bit more battle-hardened, and I thought that showed at times out there.
You attacked them from the off. Can you talk us through why you did? Even Gavin White taking off from that throw-in, the kick-outs early on, the manner in which you got scores without David even touching the ball. His first touch is a 2-pointer about 8 minutes in.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned that this morning, that we were going to go after Donegal. We weren't going to sit back waiting to see what they had to offer to us. We were going to take the game to them, and no better man than Gavin. Gavin had a sensational opening quarter of an hour, and overall led by a captain's example. So, yeah, we were determined we were going to go after everything, go after the kickouts, go after breaking ball, go out, drive on, put their defence under pressure, and we managed to do that.
You were 9 up at one stage in the first half. Donegal reads you back in, and then Clifford gets that 2-pointer on the Hooters.
That was a big score.
Massive. So you're 7 up. How did you avoid, because Donegal weren't going to give up there, how did you avoid a collapse in the second half?
Well, I suppose we mentioned the holding game last Sunday, as an example of what can happen to a team. They went Cochrane in 6 up, so we basically said,
we're going out to win the second half. If only by a point. Now we won it by 3 points, but we were very determined. We weren't going to sit back and let Donegal attack us. Now they brought it back to 4 at one stage, but we managed to drive on again, and great few moments there near the end after Joe got the goal. We weren't going to be beaten then.
It's incredible. I want to ask you briefly about your leaders in a moment, but the low point of the season was probably Tullamore against Meath. You didn't put your best foot forward that day, but the manner in which you responded to it, has that been the making of this team this year?
Well, yeah. Look, you're testing adversity. I mean, sure, everyone's all smiles when things are going well and everything's hunky-dory, but we batten down the hatches, and we're a very tight unit. There's great leaders in that dressing room, like Sir Gavin White, Sean Shea, David, Paddy, Joe O'Connor, massive leader this year, unbelievable. And I mean the way that man has improved is just unbelievable. So hats off to them all. We needed all those leaders out there because that's a good Donegal team, and I'm sure they'll come again.
Well, they've led you to number 39 in terms of All-Ireland titles. It's your 5th, Jack. Will we see you back again?
Sure, who knows? No, I think we might pass on the bet on.
But it's an incredible record, Jack. From 04 to 2025, 5 All-Ireland titles. It is sublime. With so many different types
a long
of
time as well. That's the other side of it, Tommy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack O'Connor there speaking to Tommy Rooney after the All-Ireland football final, which Kerry have won by 10 points. Kerry, how are they set now for the next few years? We thought maybe after 2022 that they'd kick on, but it was another statement today that they could possibly kick on, and it's hard to go back to back, but they're going to be number 1 on the grid next year.
Yeah, not too many teams do back to back, John, but it was considered before the quarter-final one of the most open All-Irelands that we've had in years, and they've gone out and won 3 games in a row, as you said, by 8, 6 and 9. So emphatic is how I described it, but it's easy to forget how open this whole thing was just 4 or 6 weeks ago. As I say, going back to back's not easy, but what they'll get a kick from here and a benefit from is the fact that after you win it, there's such a period of time where the group stays together, whereas after you lose, everyone breaks up and goes back to their clubs, and you don't see each other for months. But because they've won the All-Ireland, they'll have banquets, they'll have events, they'll have things that they have to attend as a team over the next couple of months, and it just keeps everybody a bit closer. It keeps everybody together for that little bit longer, so that when they hit the pre-season again, they haven't had that separation that the other teams have had. So I think that helps as well, and that, particularly a team like them who have won so many over the years, that could help them chase back to back, but there'll be plenty of us out there looking to stop them too. Yeah, and not only David Clifford, Gavin White had a stormer, Paddy Clifford has been mentioned. There are players in the Kerry team that have come of age as well. Mark O'Shea, Sean O'Brien as well in the middle of the park this year. So they're adding new individuals, not just David Clifford show. Yeah, they were almost forced into those couple of midfield changes, with the injuries that they had. But the 2 boys that you mentioned stepped up massively, and then Gavin White just showed what he's capable of in the last 3 games. And today he gave a captain's performance in an All-Ireland final. 3 points from wing half back, and I had thought that the reason Donegal were going to be hard beaten was that they have such a spread of scorers through their team, but it was actually Kerry whose midfield and defence stepped up and got the few scores, whereas the usual players from Donegal like Kieran Moore that you'd expect to get a couple of points, Paddy Burns that you'd expect to score, those boys just didn't like the same way that the spread of Kerry scorers did. So a few boys really stepped up, but Gavin White really, really impressed me. A captain's performance, a leader's performance, somebody who went out in an All-Ireland final and said, I'm going to take the game by the scruff of the neck today, and he did it, right from that throw-in where he ran in and won the ball. There's a headline on Carol Kane's piece in the Irish News today, which is lovely. When all Ireland winners die, their bodies go into the ground and their names stay above forever. This is the very thing we live for. That's what Kerry players now, they'll never be able to take that from you last year or any of these Kerry players now. Yeah, I remember actually last year in the dressing room, most of the players were gone, and I tend to be the last out for some reason. I don't know, I'm just slow getting changed or something, and it was myself and Kieran McGeady in there, and he said that exact line. He said, nobody can take this away from you now. You have an All-Ireland medal, and it's just, as I said already, that satisfaction and relief that all of the work that those boys have put in. And you talked about the man in the arena. They'll have got a lot of stick over the last few months and even few years, about one in a decade that Kerry have won. And David Clifford's only won 1 All-Ireland. How can he be the greatest? And just to have that medal, to have that win, and go away knowing that you've silenced the doubters. You've been the man or the person in the arena, and you've done what it takes. You know, it's such a massive satisfaction for those boys today.
Two more questions, Paddy, before we let you go. And England, by the way, have equalised 1-1 against Spain in the Euros final in Basel into the second half. The first one is next year. You haven't won an Anglo-Celt since 2008. That's probably the first objective.
Yeah, I'd say that'll be high on people's priority list. All right, would be to get an Ulster medal. We've been very, very close, but unfortunately, just a few penalty shootouts and a tough extra time defeat have beaten us. But we're there or thereabouts, and it's going to be an even more competitive Ulster again next year. With Derry will have new manager in charge. Tyrone have obviously strengthened again this year, and between ourselves, Donegal are going to be hurting and out to prove a point again. Monaghan are coming down, are playing very well. There's a lot of teams there who will be pushing for an Anglo-Celt, and we'll be one of them. How will this Gaelic football year be remembered? Obviously, for the new rules, are they here to stay? Has it been a successful year for the game? I think it's going to be hard to roll back on them now. People have loved watching the game. It's talked about much more positively now, and that was always something that didn't sit well with me, is how negatively pundits and media spoke about the game in general, and I think it fed that narrative of the games were bad. It actually made them harder to watch because people were talking about how bad they were, but now people are talking about it positively. Players seem to be enjoying playing the game at club level, even more so than county level. It's freed up a bit more, and the county game at times was still good to watch, I felt, but the club game was difficult. But now everybody seems to be enjoying the game more. It's got a more positive energy. The only disappointment maybe is that we didn't get the final or semi-finals that the season deserved, because we had so many good games leading up to that. But I'm sure that 2026 will give that a chance. Do you still want to see things retained or maybe not retained? Yeah, we could have had a good argument, myself and James there. I've chatted to Rory Grugan about this at length, but I'm not a fan of the 2-point score personally. I think that the whole issue that people had with the game was that it was too slow and too ponderous, and by keeping 3 up, by not being able to pass the ball back to the keeper, the kickouts are very much contested, and the tap and go free kick, I felt all of those things were enough to speed the game up and make it an entertaining spectacle. That the 2-pointers just that wee bit extra that is tipping it over the edge, that it's too hard almost now to defend the game, and there aren't enough turnovers, there's too many shooting opportunities, and it kind of devalues the shot a little bit for me. So I'd like to see the 2-pointer go, but that's a defensive biased point of view. And maybe a minority one, I don't know. Yeah, but you like to keep everything else? Yeah, I'm happy with the rest. Anything that's not in there that you'd like to put in? Let us foul a wee bit. Maybe a David Clifford rule where you're allowed to pull his jersey a few times and get away with it. Well, I think that probably wouldn't stop him either, No, it wouldn't. Next Thursday is the date when the FRC are still seeking views on the new rule enhancements. So this is not a done deal yet. The GA members survey closes next Thursday. If you want to have your say, folks, on the new rules and share your thoughts, they can be emailed as well to frc@ga.ie or by post to Jim Gavin, FRC Chair, Croke Park in Dublin 3. Nothing's agreed until it's agreed. The rule enhancements are temporary, remember this, and we voted as to which are made permanent in the rule book on the 4th of October. If you want any passed, let your club know so you can inform your county board what way to vote a special Congress. It's a democratic organisation. I'll be sending a letter about the 2-pointer. Paddy Burns, been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming in. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Enjoy the holidays. You've got a holiday coming up, so enjoy. I do. I'm for Donegal. Hopefully we can find a way to have a good time. Put an arm around them. I will. I'll give them a big hug, yeah. Paddy Burns, thank you. We're going to have lots more reaction from Croke Park between now and 7, and we're going to preview, while we wait for that reaction, the Galway races after this.
Off the Ball on News Talk. Talking History.
This Sunday on Talking History, we're exploring the man who helped make Henry VIII until Henry VIII turned on him, as we bring you the real Thomas Cromwell.
That is the great question of 1536. Whether he played Henry or whether Henry told him in one way or the other to get rid of the Queen and then let Cromwell deal with the details.
Talking History with Patrick Gagan.
This Sunday at 7 p.m.
on News Talk. Conversation that counts.
Make real summer savings at Super Value. Like Super Value Fresh Irish Ribeye.